But what of your desires, Aisha? Abdul leaned closer, as though his plan was to get words out of her mouth. Don't you yearn for a life of luxury, for silks that shimmer and jewels that sparkle like the Kano stars? Aisha looked at him in the eye, her chin held high. There are riches that money cannot buy, Abdul. Riches of the heart, of the soul. She retorted with a challenging tone. Abdul scoffed. Love is a fleeting fancy, Aisha. A wife's duty is to her husband and her family. Aisha's temper flared. And what of a husband's duty? Is it not to cherish his wife and respect her dreams? Abdul's smile faded away from his face, and for a moment, he almost panicked. He had never seen this side of Aisha. He never thought that she could be this resistant and strong-willed. Before he could retort back, a voice called from behind. Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Kano in northern Nigeria, there lived a very wealthy man named Alhaji Aminu. Alhaji Aminu was blessed with numerous livestock and farmlands, and he had plenty hired servants and laborers who worked for him. His wealth was talked about throughout Kano. He was a pillar of tradition. His gray beard held the wisdom of years, and his booming voice commanded respect. Yet, a silent rebellion bloomed within his household, like a stubborn desert flower pushing through cracked earth. Alhaji Aminu's only daughter, Aisha, possessed beauty that compete with the intricate Kano embroidery. Her dark, bright eyes held a fire that tradition tried to suppress. Unlike her friends, who are content with their futures as wives and mothers, Aisha craved for more. She yearned for a kind of love, like the one in the poetry books she read in secret. Aisha loved to take a walk in the fields and watch the laborers on her father's farm work. One day, while at the farm, Aisha caught one of the laborers stealing glances at her. His gaze lingered on her. They shared a smile, and immediately Aisha's heart melted. Hassan was a young man full of hope for a better life. Alhaji Aminu had employed him as one of his laborers a few months ago, and he had impressed Alhaji Aminu within the short time with his hard work and dedication. For Aisha and Hassan, it was love at first sight. They continued to exchange seductive glances and secret smiles with each other every day at the farm, until one day, when Hassan summoned the courage to approach her secretly. They made arrangements to meet under the big tree at the village square at dusk, when no one could see them. Alhaji Aminu, unaware of the forbidden love brewing between his only daughter and his poor laborer inside his own mansion, had other plans for Aisha's future. Abdul was the son of Amaru, his greatest friend and a man whose fortune competed with his own. Abdul was a boastful and entitled young man, unlike Hassan. The annoying scent of his perfume announced his arrival from a distance even before he arrived. He had a possessive spark in his eyes that gave Aisha chills. His eyes held no admiration for Aisha, only a possessive spark that sent shivers down her spine. One afternoon, as Aisha walked by her father's cattle range, Abdul appeared beside her. He whispered in her ear, "Aisha, you look like a rose in full bloom today." His voice was full of a fake sincerity, but Aisha could see through him. Aisha frowned within her. The flattery from Abdul does not move her at all. "Thank you, Abdul," she replied with a bluff, wishing that by some magic, he would just disappear from her presence. "My father and yours have been discussing our future," Abdul continued, with a proud smile on his lips. "It seems we are destined to be joined, like two rivers flowing towards the same direction." Aisha felt her heart pounding in her chest. This was the future her father had in mind for her, a future with no love and filled with a suffocating sense of obligation. "That is a decision for our fathers to make," she said in low voice. "But what of your desires, Aisha?" Abdul leaned closer, as though his plan was to get words out of her mouth. "Don't you yearn for a life of luxury, for silks that shimmer and jewels that sparkle like the Kano stars?" Aisha looked at him in the eye, her chin held high. "There are riches that money cannot buy, Abdul. Riches of the heart, of the soul." She retorted with a challenging tone. Abdul scoffed. "Love is a fleeting fancy, Aisha. A wife's duty is to her husband and her family." Aisha's temper flared. And what of a husband's duty? Is it not to cherish his wife and respect her dreams? Abdul's smile faded away from his face, and for a moment, he almost panicked. He had never seen this side of Aisha. He never thought that she could be this resistant and strong-willed. Before he could retort back, a voice called from behind. Aisha, what is going on here? It was Alhaji Aminu, looking so impatient. Aisha quickly walked away from Abdul, her heart pounding fast. She knew that this day was far from over, and the battle for her heart had only just begun. As days bled into weeks, Alhaji Aminu began to notice the tense atmosphere around his home. His once cheerful daughter Aisha, who used to fill his mansion with laughter, now prefers to keep to herself. She is either on the farm or taking a walk on the cattle ranch or painting things down in her room. Alhaji Aminu, however, dismissed his observations as teenage anxiety, a phase all girls went through. Meanwhile, Abdul, boastful of his father's wealth as usual, began to shower Aisha with unwanted expensive gifts, flashy gold jewelry that clashed with her delicate beauty and silk fabrics that felt stiff and suffocating against her skin. Aisha and Hassan continued to see each other in secret. Hassan had professed his undying love for her, and she too had not denied how she felt about him. But I'm afraid of what Baba will do if he finds out, Aisha had said. Hassan looked at her lovingly and told her that he was afraid too. But do not let us waste the little time we have with each other dwelling on that, Hassan had added. Let us leave that to posterity and enjoy our time together. Aisha nodded with broad smile. Hassan would sometimes sneak into Alhaji Aminu's compound at night to talk to Aisha through the window of her room. And other days, Aisha sneaked out at night to meet with him under the big tree at the village square, where no one could see them. One evening, during a family gathering under the twinkling stars, Malam Amaru, Abdul's father casually announced his intentions to his best friend, Alhaji Aminu. Alhaji, he called out with a thick voice, perhaps it's time to discuss the union of our children. Abdul is smitten with Aisha, and I can assure you, his heart is pure gold. Aisha's stomach grumbled like sour milk when she overheard Abdul's father from where she was sitting with her friend Halima. She looked towards her father's direction, hoping to find some understanding in his eyes, but his face remained expressionless. Fatima, Aisha's mother, quickly spoke up. Malam Amaru, she began. Aisha is still young. Perhaps some time for her to mature before such a weighty decision is made. Alhaji Aminu stroked his beard, considering Fatima's words. He was fond of Aisha and respected wife's intelligence. Perhaps, he conceded, but Abdul is a fine young man, and a marriage would solidify the bond between our families. Fatima's heart began racing. She knew a direct confrontation wouldn't work. She needed a plan, a daring one that would honor tradition while giving her daughter a voice. Alhaji, she continued, her voice a little shaky, have you heard of the Kano Hikayata storytelling competition? They say the winner can request a single wish, anything their heart desires. Both Malam Amaru's and Alhaji Aminu's eyes gleamed with interest. Kano's storytelling competitions were legendary, a vibrant display of cultural heritage. Indeed, he replied, leaning forward. But what does this have to do with Aisha? Fatima glanced at Aisha with a cunning smile on her lips. Perhaps, she said, Aisha could participate. And if she wins, she can have the liberty to choose her own life, including who she wishes to marry. A tense silence fell over the gathering. Aisha's heart pounded in her chest. She practically heard a frantic drumbeat against her ribs. Alhaji Aminu's brow furrowed in thought as he considered his wife's suggestion. On one hand, tradition dictated arranged marriages, but on the other, the Hikayata was a respected event. Very well, he finally declared, with little doubt in his voice. Aisha may participate, but she must uphold the honor of our family. Aisha's eyes brightened up with a glimpse of hope. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a chance. A chance to fight for her love, for her future, using the very essence of her culture, storytelling. In the following days, word of the Hikayata competition quickly spread like wildfire in the busy Kano marketplace. Rumors circulated over Aisha's possible participation. As the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in Kano, expectations weigh so much on her shoulders. Hassan continued to labor in Alhaji Aminu's farm faithfully, his emotions a mixture of worry and hope. He had heard about the competition from Aisha's best friend, Halima, who had told him in whispers when she had stopped by the well alone. He knew that this was Aisha's opportunity, an opportunity he so badly wanted her to take. Yet, a nagging worry tore at him. What story could she possibly tell to convince her father and the distinguished judges? He wondered. One evening, as the day folded into night, Hassan found himself by Aisha's window, their usual secret meeting point. He wasn't sure if she'd be happy seeing him, with the weight of the competition pressing down on her and everything going on. "Aisha," he whispered in a soft voice, "I heard about the Hikayata." Aisha nodded, her eyes filled with questions he already knew. "I have to try, Hassan. This is our only chance to be together." He reached out, taking her hand in his. Even though his hand was rugged and hard from years of labor, yet to Aisha, it felt like a beacon of hope. "I know you can do this," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "But remember, your story doesn't just need to win the judges, it needs to win your father's heart." Aisha's gaze dropped. "But how can I tell a story that goes against tradition?" Hassan squeezed her hand gently. "Tell the story of your heart, Aisha. Tell him about the love that blooms despite the harshness of the desert, about the dreams you share under the same stars. Tell him a tale that speaks to the truth within him." Aisha's eyes welled up with tears. "Do you believe in me?" "More than words can say," Hassan replied with an assuring smile that could warm the heart of anyone. "Now go, tell your story. Let the magic of Kano's storytelling work its wonders." The days that followed were spent in intense preparation. As the daughter of a born storyteller who inherited a few storytelling tricks from her late mother, Fatima took on the role of coach, guiding her daughter in crafting her story. They dug far into Kano folktales, crafting tales of cursed couples and rebellious daughters who stood up for what they believed in. Finally, the day of the Hikayata arrived. The Kano Durbar Square, usually bustling with the activities, was transformed into a stage for storytelling. Drummers pounded a rhythmic beat, filling the air with anticipation. Renowned Kano storytellers, adorned in vibrant robes, captivated the audience with ancient tales of bravery and craftiness. When Aisha's turn came, silence fell over the crowd. Her voice, initially trembling, gained strength as she narrated a story that spoke about her current situation. It spoke of a young woman named Zara, who yearned for love beyond the confines of arranged marriage. It described a charming young man who was nice, hardworking and kind, exactly like Hassan. The story flowed smoothly, creating a tapestry of love, hope, and disobedience. The audience was enjoying the story, unknown to them that Aisha was talking about her current state with Hassan. To be continued. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and don't forget to share with your family and friends.